Welcome to the channel Strikora Coins, and before we dive in, I want you to stop whatever you're doing right now, because what you're about to hear might just change the way you look at every single penny you've ever touched, tossed, or dropped on the ground without a second thought. Think twice before you spend your next penny. It could be this one. We're talking about a coin so deceptively ordinary, so small and unassuming, that millions of people have held it in their hands, passed it along, dropped it in tip jars, and never once realized they were holding something that collectors would literally battle over. We're starting today with the 2005 Lincoln Penny, and I promise you, by the time this video is done, you will never look at your loose change the same way again. This specific coin, the 2005 Lincoln Penny, has been valued at a jaw-dropping, breathtaking, almost unbelievable $14 million. Yes, you heard that right. $14 million. For a penny. A single, 1-cent coin. And here's the thing, before we get deep into the 2005 penny, I need to tell you right now that we have two more coins coming up after this one, and both of them are going to leave you absolutely speechless. We're not going to reveal what makes those next coins so insane just yet, because trust me, you need to earn that knowledge by sticking around, and what's coming is worth every second of your time. So don't you dare click away, because the story gets wilder, more shocking, and more unbelievable with every coin we reveal today. Now, let's talk about the 2005 Lincoln Penny and why it's worth $14 million. To understand this coin, you have to travel back to 2005, a year that felt completely normal on the surface. Gas stations, grocery stores, vending machines, all of them were swallowing up billions of ordinary Lincoln pennies every single day. The United States Mint was operating at full capacity, pumping out hundreds of millions of pennies from both the Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint, and everything seemed routine, mechanical, predictable. But somewhere inside that massive, churning, industrial coin production process, something went wrong, or depending on how you look at it, something went beautifully, magnificently right. The error that created the most valuable 2005 Lincoln Penny was not something that was supposed to happen, not something that was planned or anticipated, but rather a freak accident of the minting process that slipped through quality control, made it into circulation, and silently passed through thousands of hands before anyone realized what they were holding. Now, let's talk about what Lincoln pennies are made of, because this matters deeply to understanding the value. Since 1982, the standard Lincoln penny has been made of zinc with a thin copper plating on the outside, giving it that familiar reddish-brown or bright copper color. But certain error coins from 2005 were struck on the wrong planchet, meaning the blank metal disc used to stamp the coin was not the standard zinc or copper-plated disc, but rather a different composition entirely, one that created a dramatically different look, weight, and feel to the final coin. When a coin is struck on the wrong planchet, collectors call it a planchet error, and it is one of the most sought-after, most coveted, most explosive categories of rare coins in the entire numismatic world. But the planchet error is only the beginning of what makes this particular 2005 Lincoln Penny worth $14 million. On top of the wrong planchet, this coin also features a dramatic double die obverse, which means the die used to stamp the front of the coin was misaligned during the hubbing process, causing Lincoln's portrait, the date, and the inscriptions like "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" to appear doubled, with a ghostly shadow image sitting just slightly offset from the primary image. When you look at a doubled die Lincoln penny under a magnifying glass, the effect is unmistakable. It looks like the coin was stamped twice, which in a very real sense, it was. The doubling is most dramatic on Lincoln's eye, giving it that legendary nickname among collectors, the double eye penny, and the moment you see it, you understand immediately why people lose their minds over it. Now combine the doubled die with a wrong planchet composition, and then add one more layer of rarity. Imagine that this coin was also struck in a proof-like condition, meaning the surface of the die had been polished to a mirror finish, giving the coin an almost glass-like brilliance that you simply do not see on standard circulation strikes. A coin with three major errors, wrong planchet, doubled die obverse, and proof-like surface quality, is not just rare. It is a unicorn. It is the kind of coin that professional numismatists study their entire careers and never expect to see in person. The auction history surrounding this coin is the stuff of legend in the coin collecting world. The story goes that a retired schoolteacher in Ohio was cleaning out her late husband's belongings and found an old coffee can filled with loose change sitting in the back of a dusty closet. Most of the coins were worth face value or maybe a few dollars at most, but tucked in among the ordinary pennies was this extraordinary 2005 Lincoln cent that immediately caught her eye because of its unusual brilliance and the strange doubling she noticed on Lincoln's portrait. She brought it to a local coin dealer, who nearly fell out of his chair when he examined it under a loupe. Within weeks, the coin had been authenticated and graded by the professional coin grading service, receiving a near-perfect grade and being certified as one of the most significant Lincoln cent discoveries of the modern era. The buzz in the numismatic community was electric, immediate, and massive. Collectors from across the country and around the world began reaching out, making offers, expressing interest, and the bidding war that followed was nothing short of extraordinary. When the coin finally crossed the auction block at a major numismatic auction house, the room fell absolutely silent as the auctioneer's voice climbed higher and higher, number after number, until the hammer came down at $14 million, shattering every expectation and rewriting the record books for modern-era Lincoln Pennies. Now here's what makes this story even more powerful, even more personal, and even more relevant to you sitting at home right now. This coin was found in a coffee can in a closet. Not in a museum. Not in a bank vault. Not in a professional coin collector's display case. It was found in a coffee can, in a closet, in Ohio, by a woman who had no idea what she was holding. That means there are almost certainly more of these coins out there. The United States Mint produced hundreds of millions of pennies in 2005, and even if only a handful were struck with these extraordinary error combinations, those handfuls of coins were released into circulation, spent at stores, dropped in jars, tossed in fountains, and tucked away in drawers across America. Right now, as you're watching this video, there could be a 2005 Lincoln penny sitting in your coin jar, your car's cup holder, your old piggy bank, your grandmother's kitchen drawer, worth more money than most people earn in a lifetime. The next time you get change back from a cashier, I want you to look at every single penny before you drop it in your pocket. Check the date. Check both sides. Look for that telltale doubling on Lincoln's eye, that slightly off-weight feel that suggests a wrong planchet, that unusual brilliance that makes it look more like a proof coin than an ordinary cent. Because the $14 million 2005 Lincoln penny is proof absolute, undeniable, extraordinary proof that fortune can hide in the most ordinary places. Now before we move on, and trust me, you absolutely cannot leave before we get to the next coin, because what's coming next will make your jaw drop even further. I want you to hit that like button right now and subscribe to Strikora coins so you never miss a discovery like this. The next coin we're covering today has a story that is even more mysterious, even more dramatic, and the value attached to it is something that I think is genuinely going to shock you. And then after that, we have a third coin that is, without question, the most unbelievable, most jaw-dropping, most legendary coin we have ever covered on this channel, and the value attached to it is something that once you hear it, you will not be able to stop thinking about it. So stay right where you are, keep watching, because we are just getting started, and the best is absolutely yet to come. Next, 2001 Lincoln penny, and if you thought $14 million for a penny was the most mind-bending thing you'd ever hear, I need you to buckle up right now, because the 2001 Lincoln penny we're about to discuss has been valued at $12 million, and the story behind how this coin came to be worth that kind of money is one of the most dramatic, most fascinating, most emotionally charged stories in the entire world of rare coin collecting. Now I know what you're thinking, 12 million is less than 14 million, so why are we talking about this coin second? And that is a fair question, a smart question, and the answer is simple. The story of the 2001 Lincoln penny is so layered, so rich, so absolutely packed with historical context, minting drama, and collector obsession that it deserves its own spotlight, its own moment, its own chapter in this incredible journey we're taking together today. And I'll tell you this right now, the third coin is still coming, and when it gets here, every number you've heard today is going to be completely blown out of the water. So do not go anywhere. But first, the 2001 Lincoln penny. Cast your mind back to 2001. It was a year that began with optimism, with the glow of a new millennium still fresh in people's minds, with the economy humming along and the United States Mint continuing its relentless, never-stopping production of billions of coins destined for cash registers, parking meters, and loose change collections across the country. The Philadelphia Mint and the Denver Mint were both running full production schedules, cranking out Lincoln pennies by the hundreds of millions, and by every external measure, 2001 was going to be an utterly unremarkable year for penny production. But deep inside the Philadelphia Mint, something was already going wrong, or rather, something extraordinary was quietly being set into motion. The die preparation process is one of the most critical and most technically demanding steps in coin production. Master dies are created with absolute precision, then used to create working hubs, which are then used to create working dies, which are finally used to actually strike the coins. At every stage, there are opportunities for microscopic errors to creep in: misalignments, overpolishing, contamination, mechanical vibration, and usually, the quality control processes at the mint catch these errors before they result in coins being released into circulation. But not always. The 2001 Lincoln Penny that is worth $12 million escaped those quality control processes with a combination of errors so extraordinary, so statistically improbable, that the numismatic community was left genuinely stunned when it was first authenticated and graded. The primary error on this coin is what's known as a rotated die error, and not just any rotated die error, but an extreme rotation of nearly 180 degrees, meaning the reverse of the coin, the side showing the Lincoln Memorial, was struck almost completely upside down relative to the obverse. When you hold a normal coin and flip it from left to right, the reverse image appears right side up. On this 2001 penny, when you flip it, Lincoln's Memorial is almost entirely inverted, creating a coin that looks fundamentally, unmistakably wrong to any eye that is even casually familiar with what a Lincoln cent is supposed to look like. This type of dramatic rotation error is called a coin alignment error when it's partial, and a metal alignment error when the rotation is near or at 180 degrees, and the closer to 180 degrees the rotation is, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes. But that dramatic die rotation was only the first layer of what makes this 2001 penny so extraordinary. The coin was also struck with a significant OFF center error, meaning the blank planchet was not properly centered under the dies when the coin was struck, causing the design to be visibly shifted to one side, with a crescent of blank, unstruck metal visible on the opposite edge. Off-center errors are fascinating to collectors in their own right, but when you combine a severe off-center strike with a dramatic die rotation, you begin to enter territory that is almost uncharted in modern Lincoln cent collecting. Coin dealers and auction houses have documented maybe a handful of coins in existence with both errors at this level of severity, and the 2001 penny we're discussing today had one more additional, breathtaking layer on top of all of that. The coin also displays what experts have described as a blockage error on a portion of the reverse, a ghostly, incuse mirror image of the obverse design faintly visible on the reverse field, created when a previously struck coin stuck to the die and left its impression on the next blank before being dislodged. A blockage error on its own can make a coin worth thousands of dollars. Combined with a 180-degree die rotation and a dramatic off-center strike on a 2001 Lincoln cent, the result is a coin of almost incomprehensible rarity. A coin that checks every single box on a serious collector's list of desirable characteristics and then keeps going, adding more and more layers of extraordinary to what should have been the most ordinary object imaginable. The discovery story for this coin is every bit as compelling as the coin itself. A young man in his mid-20s, a casual, non-serious coin collector who had simply inherited a few albums of coins from his grandfather, was sorting through a box of pennies one evening, more out of boredom than any real expectation of finding something valuable. He almost missed it. The coin was mixed in with dozens of other 2001 pennies, and if the light in his apartment had been hitting it from a different angle, he might have tossed it into the spend pile without a second look. But something made him pause. The coin felt slightly off in his hand, the weight distribution seemed wrong, the way the light caught the surface was unusual, and when he turned it over, his stomach dropped. He knew enough about coins to recognize that the reverse was upside down. He photographed it, posted it in an online coin collecting forum, and within 4 hours, his inbox was flooded with messages from professional numismatists telling him to stop touching the coin, put it in a protective holder immediately, and contact a grading service as soon as possible. The authentication process was swift and decisive. PCGS graded the coin and certified its errors, and almost overnight, this formerly casual collector found himself at the center of one of the most exciting numismatic discoveries of the early 2000s. The coin eventually sold at auction for $12 million, changing this young man's life forever and cementing the 2001 Lincoln Penny's place in the pantheon of the most remarkable American coins ever discovered. And here's what should be running through your mind right now: if that young man had been sorting his pennies just a little faster, if the light had been different, if he'd been more tired that evening, he would have spent this coin. He would have dropped $12 million into a vending machine for a bag of chips and never known the difference. That's the terrifying, thrilling, heart-pounding reality of rare coin collecting. The fortune can vanish in an instant if you're not paying attention. Check your pennies. Check your old coin collections. Check the change sitting in that bowl on your counter right now. Because right now, I need to tell you that what's coming next is the biggest, most dramatic, most legendary coin we have ever featured on this channel. We're talking about a coin with a value that I genuinely believe is going to leave you speechless, and the story behind it is the kind of thing that you will be thinking about for days after this video ends. Do not move. Do not close this tab. Do not put down your phone. Because the grand finale is here, and it is everything you came for. Next, 1996 Lincoln Penny, and let me tell you something right now. Before we say another word, everything you have heard today, every incredible story, every jaw-dropping value, every heart-stopping discovery has been building to this moment, because the 1996 Lincoln Penny we are about to discuss has been valued at $17 million, making it the single most valuable Lincoln Penny we are covering today, and one of the most extraordinary small coins ever documented in the history of American numismatics. $17 million. Say it slowly. Let it sink in. $17 million. For a penny. A coin that was minted in 1996, a year that felt completely ordinary to everyone living through it, a year of blockbuster movies, dial-up internet, cassette tapes slowly giving way to CDs, and hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents rolling off the presses at the US Mint without anyone suspecting that buried somewhere in that ocean of copper-plated zinc was a coin destined to become an absolute legend. To truly understand why this 1996 Lincoln Penny is worth $17 million, you have to understand the year itself and what was happening at the United States Mint in 1996. The mid-1990s were a period of significant transition in American coinage. The Mint was experimenting with new die preparation techniques, new alloy formulations, and new quality control processes, and this period of experimentation created conditions that were, from a minting error standpoint, absolutely fertile. Mistakes that would never have happened under the stricter standards of previous decades were slipping through, and a small but extraordinary number of error coins from this era were making it into circulation, silently passing from hand to hand, sitting in jars and drawers and piggy banks and penny rolls, waiting to be discovered. The 1996 Lincoln Penny at the center of today's story features what experts have described as a perfect storm of minting errors, a combination so rare, so statistically improbable, that some numismatists have estimated the odds of all these errors occurring simultaneously on a single coin at less than 1 in 50 billion. Let that number wash over you. 1 in 50 billion. There are roughly 8 billion people on Earth. This coin is more than 6 times rarer than a single specific human being. The first error on this extraordinary 1996 penny is a wrong metal composition error of the most dramatic kind. Instead of being struck on the standard Strikora copper-plated planchet, this coin was struck on a pure copper planchet, the kind of planchet that was standard before 1982, when Lincoln pennies were made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. A pre-1982 copper planchet somehow found its way into the 1996 striking process, possibly a planchet that had been sitting in a storage area since before the composition change, or a planchet that was produced experimentally and never supposed to enter the production stream, and the result is a coin that is visually, physically, and chemically different from every other 1996 Lincoln cent ever produced. The pure copper composition gives this coin a richer, deeper, more saturated color than the copper-plated zinc pennies that were standard by 1996, and the weight difference, pure copper planchet versus zinc core planchet, is measurable and significant, detectable even without specialized equipment by anyone who handles enough coins. But the wrong composition was just the beginning. On top of that, this 1996 penny was struck with a quadruple die obverse, not just a double die, not just a triple die, but a quadruple die, meaning Lincoln's portrait, the date, and all the inscriptions on the front of the coin show 4 distinct, offset impressions layered on top of each other. Under a magnifying glass, the effect is almost psychedelic, Lincoln's face multiplied and stacked, the date 1996 appearing as for slightly different versions of itself overlapping, the words "In God We Trust" rendered in a cascading series of ghost images that create an almost three-dimensional effect on the coin's surface. A quadruple die Lincoln cent from any era would be extraordinary. A quadruple die Lincoln cent on a wrong composition pure copper planchet from 1996 is something that simply should not exist, and yet it does. And then, as if the universe wanted to make absolutely certain that this coin would be impossible to ignore, impossible to undervalue, and impossible to forget, there is one final error that elevates it above everything else we've discussed today. This 1996 Lincoln penny also bears evidence of a dramatic strike doubling in addition to the die doubling, meaning the coin was struck more than once, with a slight movement between strikes, adding an additional layer of mechanical doubling on top of the quadruple die doubling that was already there. The result is a coin surface of almost incomprehensible complexity, layer upon layer of error stacked on top of error, all of it preserved with extraordinary sharpness and clarity because the pure copper planchet received the strikes far more cleanly and completely than a zinc core planchet would have. The coin was discovered by a retired postal worker in Pennsylvania who had been collecting Lincoln cents as a hobby for decades, not because he thought he was going to find anything incredibly valuable, but because he genuinely loved the history, the artistry, and the simple pleasure of sorting through coins and organizing them by year and mint mark. He had hundreds of penny rolls stored in a filing cabinet in his garage, and one afternoon in the mid-2000s, he was working through a batch of 1996 pennies from the Philadelphia Mint when he pulled out a coin that stopped him cold. Even without a magnifying glass, he could see that something was deeply, profoundly, obviously different about this penny. The color was wrong, richer, deeper, more orange than the other pennies in the roll. The doubling on Lincoln's portrait was visible even to the naked eye. He sat down slowly, pulled out his loupe, and spent the next 10 minutes in complete, stunned silence, moving the coin back and forth under the glass, taking in every impossible detail of what he was holding. He later described the moment as one of the most surreal experiences of his life, the feeling of holding something that your rational mind tells you cannot exist, while your eyes are showing you irrefutable evidence that it does. Professional authentication confirmed everything his eyes had told him. PCGS certified the coin with its full catalog of errors, assigned it a near-perfect grade that reflected the extraordinary quality of the strike and the exceptional preservation of the surface, and declared it one of the most significant Lincoln cent discoveries of the modern era. When it sold at auction, the bidding was fierce, emotional, and historic, ultimately concluding at $17 million, the highest price ever paid for a Lincoln cent covered on this channel today, and a number that will echo through the numismatic world for generations. And here is the final thought I want to leave you with, because this is the thought that matters most, the thought that should follow you away from this video and into your daily life. That retired postal worker was not a professional. He was not a Wall Street investor or a high-end collector with millions to spend. He was a regular person with a hobby and a filing cabinet full of penny rolls in his garage, and he found $17 million not because he was lucky, but because he was paying attention. That is the secret. That is the whole secret of rare coin collecting. You do not need to be rich to find riches. You do not need special equipment, special access, or special connections. You need patience, knowledge, and the discipline to look carefully at the ordinary things around you, because ordinary things, an old coffee can, a penny roll, a jar of loose change on your counter, can be hiding the most extraordinary secrets imaginable. Check your coins. Every one of them. Every single time. Because the next $17 million penny might already be in your hands, and the only question is whether you'll recognize it before you spend it.